This is Focus Richmond, covering the issues, people, events, and news that affect the citizens of Central Virginia.
Welcome to Focus Richmond. I'm Rich Jacobs. My guests right now are Rob Lawrence with the Richmond Ambulance Authority and also Sean Burton, who's also with the Richmond Ambulance Authority. Sean's done something special we're going to get to in just a minute. First, Rob, we're just wrapping up a week focused on pedestrian awareness, pedestrian safety, crossings. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we've just come to the end of Virginia Bicyclist and Pedestrian Awareness Week, in which a number of organisations, both in the Commonwealth, Drive Smart Virginia and Bike Virginia, and also very locally, Richmond Ambulance Authority, Richmond Police, VCU Police, have gotten together to promote safe crossing, to promote safe driving, and to really identify the fact that we need to avoid distracted driving and crossing. In other words, pay attention to the wheel. In other words, pay attention to the crossing when you're walking and get there safely.
It's kind of like, I'll put it in my words. Wake up, dummy. You stop texting, pay attention to your driving, look both ways before you cross the street, that kind of thing.
That's an excellent translation, Rich. Yes, indeed. But absolutely, and because clearly what we want to do, and whilst this is a week for us in the emergency services and for those that respond, this is a year-long activity, and getting into a little bit of prevention enables us to promote the prevention, because if we don't, we have to attend it. And so therefore we've discovered, certainly in the city of Richmond, and using our sort of signature data that we rely on to plan many of our activities, campaigns and responses, in the last 1,200 days we've responded to over 300 pedestrians that have been unsuccessful at crossing the street for a number of reasons. But
right.
The key is if we can just get the message out there about stopping, looking and listening, we may reduce that number.
Doing the news, of course, you see the high-profile stuff like the hit and runs, which for some reason, it seems to me, we've just had like a rash of them over the last couple of months. What prompted this? I mean, you just described a little bit, but are we seeing a spike in this stuff? Is it ramping? Are we seeing more incidents of folks distracted driving, distracted pedestrians?
We're certainly seeing an uptick in this, and as I say, indeed, our numbers average once every 3 days. We are picking somebody up literally off the street. Now, very interestingly, NHTSA, the national level, identified through police reports that causation for distracted crossing has quadrupled over the last couple of years. In other words, people that are distracted, that are getting knocked down, or indeed driving that are having accidents, is increasing beyond belief, and therefore
this is not necessarily because we're getting stupider. It's because we've got other distractions that are
indeed.
6-7 years ago, we didn't have as many people texting and doing Facebook and stuff while they're driving in the car, sitting at stoplights.
And you're absolutely right, and it's a very particular issue for Richmond. And we were talking to some guys at DMV who were saying that it's the big cities, particularly in Virginia, that are having the issue. In Norfolk, up in the north, in Nova, etc., because people are commuting in, getting out of their cars in a hurry and getting to the office, usually with a cup of some well-known coffee and some well-known tablet device to get to their office, and therefore are distracted because they're in a hurry. And so we see spikes in this particular activity in cities, and of course Richmond is no different, and therefore we seek to address it in any which way we can. Of course, we discovered that music is our new energy, and we're using that to target it to get people to pay attention.
And that's where Sean Burton comes in.
Yes.
Who's what's your when you're not rapping? What's your regular job with the Ambulance Authority?
My regular job is a systems analyst. Pretty much I work in the billing department, and I'm in charge of all the online systems there. And
in order to make the message more, we do public service announcements from now till Christmas.
Right.
Don't text and drive, look both ways, blah, blah, blah. We can do that, and people won't listen to it if it's the same dry, stupid read that I always do. Exactly. When I'm reading copy, it's like, don't do this. You know better. Whose idea was it to do a rap video?
It was actually Rob's idea.
It was Rob's idea?
It was Rob's idea.
Rob's so square.
Thank you very much. And this is where Sean always laughs at me, because, of course, I'm a child of the late 70s. And I grew up with Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, if you remember who he is.
The kings of rap. The
Absolutely.
Kings of rap.
And so we were talking one day about, again, looking at the data, identifying there as an issue. and I decided to write a hit rap song. And I wrote a rap song, and of course, those that know, and he's sitting next to me now, took a look at this and in the nicest possible sense told me, no, that's not a hit rap song. Went away and came back with the genius masterpiece that he produced. And so therefore, we looked at the demographics actually, and what we discovered was that there is no real difference in the age groups of people that are having incidents and accidents, both in terms of age and in terms of the ethnic and the diverse mix of the city of Richmond.
I would have now for maybe see. Here's an assumption I would have made. I would have thought the younger the person, the more likely they do that.
That's what you think. But of course, we're all as bad as each other, and therefore we're all as distracted as each other at crossing the street. But of course, we're now in the back to school period. People are going back to college, back to university, back to school, and of course, people are coming into the city that may not be big city people. They're not used to that level of traffic, and therefore we had to start somewhere. And of course, addressing the younger generation first of all is our start point. We'll start again when the clocks turn, because of course what we found again from our data is that pedestrian accidents peak once the clocks turn in November. Of course, people are now coming out of work and it's dark. They've got to get across the street to the parking deck, and therefore the activity will shift to an increase in the business area. In fact, because people are coming out of work in the dark and trying to get to the parking deck. But we had to start somewhere, and of course we started by aiming at the younger generation, the more hip generation, like me. I'm not so square, you see. and of course, and this is where Sean came into his own with his friends and his guys at the studio, and of course we created the song, and then we created the video with the amazing dancers and people that went into that as well.
Guest stars like the mayor. I spotted the mayor in there. So who wrote the lyrics?
I did.
You wrote the lyrics,
I wrote
Sean,
the lyrics.
and you're the one who performed the rap.
Correct.
And who else was involved? We want to make sure we acknowledge them.
Yeah, my friend Reginald Smith. That's who I recorded it with, and he produced the song, the track. And I got my friend Carlton involved. He's the videographer of the video. He works at he owns his own company called Spider Bite Studios. And then I got a friend, Deandra Clark. She's a great choreographer, great dancer. She works with many dance teams. And so I got her involved to do the choreography of the flash mob. And so, just got all my friends together and come up with some creative ideas, including Rob's ideas, and it just took off. Yeah. And I have to admit, Rob does have some lyrical and rhyming ability. He does.
It was a little bit Shakespearean, and perhaps we
all right.
Well, I have to tell you that the thing that I wrote is still in existence, and it perhaps could be more of a country hit, sort of crossing the dirt road anthem, perhaps one day. We'll see.
Why did the chicken cross the road type anthem?
Exactly.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, let's take a listen to it.
Down the sidewalk, minding your biz, texting your friends, and cars are racing on the highway, you not knowing where the sidewalk ends. Paying no attention, can't get you a visit from the local paramedics. You don't want to be crippled with a medical bill, so listen to the message.
Stop. Look side to side before you take another stride. Stop. Make sure you have the right of way and check the signs. Stop. There's something bright if you choose to walk out at night. Stop. And pay attention, just stop. Pay attention.
Even when you're behind the wheel, you still have a responsibility to yield. For pedestrians and cyclists, even skateboarders doing sidekicks. Stay away from texting while driving. For a convo, use redialing. And lower your radio a little bit. Stay the speed limit for the innocent get hit.
Stop. Look side to side before you pull off from the light. Stop. Beware of your surroundings and others at all times. Stop. If you run up on a yellow light, you must slow down. Stop. And pay attention, just stop. Pay attention. Stop.
Sean, this is on YouTube, right? Is it playing anywhere else, or any of the TV stations running it?
Not right now.
Not
We're
right now?
trying to get to that point, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they should be. It's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, it's, you hear, well, the Ambulance Authority is going to do a video about safety, and you're like, oh, wow.
Right.
Okay. I'll look at it. It was really cool. It's a cool video. So if folks want to see it and listen to it, they can go to YouTube. What's the easiest way to find it on YouTube?
You can search by Crossing Alert PSA.
Or Crossing Alert PSA?
Or as a result of this, we now have our own YouTube site, which is Richmond Ambulance VA as well. So you can go to Richmond Ambulance VA and it's there.
On YouTube.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But coming back to the point you made, I mean, this was made possible through a FEMA grant. And we got a very small FEMA grant and to develop a public safety campaign. And when we looked at the market, you're right, there are lots of, sort of cookie cutter type PSAs about paying attention and everything else. And so therefore we had to find something that would grab the imagination. And of course that then helped us, take this to the boss to say, right, we're going to write a hit record, boss, and we're going to write this, we're going to have a flash mob in the middle of a street in Richmond, and it's going to be really great. And so therefore you can imagine this, the boss, you can imagine the sell we had to do. But actually, he's a cool guy and he went with it and allowed us to be creative, and here we are today.
And it turned out great.
Absolutely.
It turned out great. It looks great, and I hope everybody will check it out. Go to Facebook and search Crossing Safety PSA.
Crossing Alert.
Crossing Alert PSA.
Mm-hmm.
Crossing Alert PSA. And you'll run across the Richmond Ambulance Authority page on YouTube. That out of my mouth. Rob, you got a card there. What's this all about?
Yeah, in addition to the video and hopefully the viral video, we created a small business-like card that we're handing out to people to read. Obviously not whilst crossing the road, but it really is.
Right.
It's our Street Smart card, and it talks about the key things you should be doing. Some fairly obvious ones, but they need to be stated. Put your phone down, be smart and stay alert. Come to a complete stop at crosswalks. Obey all the traffic signals. But the absolute key message in here is about stopping, looking, and listening. Stop at the intersection. Have a look around for the traffic that's coming, not looking down at the device that you may be carrying. Listen to the traffic around you and make sure it's safe to cross, not listening necessarily to the headphones you may have implanted in your ears.
Right.
And, of course, cross safely. So stop, look, and listen is a key message, really, just to help you get across. Now, of course, you may have the right of way. And as Sean says in the song, responsibility to yield, etc. But that doesn't stop you from having a quick look to make sure that you are safe, to make sure that you survive to get across the crossing and get on to your job, school, class, college, and the next day.
Right. Having the right of way doesn't help if you get clobbered by somebody who runs a red light.
Exactly.
You may be in the right, but you still got hurt.
And we're always there in Richmond in the EMS system, in the ambulance, but of course we'd rather not be because you got there safely.
Right. My guests have been Rob Lawrence, our good friend Rob Lawrence with the Richmond Ambulance Authority, and Sean Burton, awesome rapper.
Thank you.
And a systems analyst type guy with the Richmond Ambulance Authority. Thanks, guys, for coming in.
Thank you
very much.